then he couldn't find a pulse. And instead of calling 911, he called his mother. So they both loaded me in the car and they brought me to the hospital and I was dead, pronounced dead. And they didn't think they could bring me back, but they did.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Spiritual Talk podcast. I am your host, Lamont Gates. Joining me today, my guest details her near-death experience after dying for 5 minutes. Today, our guest is near-death experiencer Diana Kouprina. Diana, welcome to the
Hi.
Real Spiritual Talk podcast. Glad to have
Hi.
you on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely no problem at all. Now, Diana, let's go backwards a little bit, slow it down before we accelerate into your near death experience itself, because I understand it was life changing, but your life in general had a lot of ups and downs. So,
Yeah, a
how,
lot of failures.
how old were you when you had your near death experience?
Um, I want to say I was around 23. Um, I'm so bad with age. It's funny. I can tell you exactly the day it happened, what I was thinking, how it progressed, what happened after. But concretely nailing down like, oh, it was this year, it's really hard for me to do. I don't know why, but I believe I was about 23, 24. Like that is that year where it happened. That was my crazy addiction year, and that was the time frame.
So, prior to having this near death experience, I love to ask guests, did you have any previous religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs you held?
Sure, yeah. So it's funny because I've been recently even thinking about that and just really reflecting on my childhood and my upbringing, and I really want a religious family. I was born in the Soviet Union and religion didn't exist there, and it was mainly for really practicing Orthodox, and it was their little community, and our family just didn't align with it. My parents felt a little bit more re liberated than being Orthodox. And so it wasn't anything. My first experience with religion was when I moved to the US. I was 9 years old and we were in New Haven, and my parents were told, oh, there are no good public schools in New Haven. Um, Send her to this Catholic school. So zero English, zero knowledge about Catholicism. That was my first experience. And after that, really, it was just yeah, nothing. My grandmother died, and then I just kind of really had hope that something exists, but I didn't have evidence. I'm a really questioning type of person. I have a lot of doubts, and even within myself. So it was just, where's the evidence? Where's the proof? I don't see it. Maybe I'm insane. There were a lot of, kind of, I don't, I didn't. Like to me, having kind of that faith in religion or spirituality almost dabbled with, maybe that's like aligning with having schizophrenia or something. And it was just, I don't believe, like I can't. It was really hard to have any kind of spiritual hold, I guess.
Yes, yes, I understand very well. So, with that said, why don't we go into what it was that triggered your near death experience? I know there were layers to the story and into getting to the actual near death
Yeah,
experience itself. So, why don't you take some time to explain that for us?
sure. Absolutely. So, I experienced my severe trauma, I guess, at the age of 12. I was raped. And then after that, everything just kind of really went dark. And I tried really hard to sustain myself. I tried academically, but I was really not functioning well. Like my CPTSD was horrible, everything, depression, all of it. I ended up in a psychiatric hospital that actually was even worse of an experience than a better experience. And so eventually I turned to drugs. My primary care was the first one who prescribed me a benzodiazepine, Xanax. And after that, it was like, please, where do I get more? Because I can't function without it. And that's when I met my ex-husband, and it was a very codependent, somewhat verbally abusive relationship. And it was really centered around drugs and addiction. I met him because he was my dealer. So it was kind of one of those things where this makes sense, right? We have this common he's using, he's trying to get clean. He gets methadone, and honestly, methadone is very much like heroin. It's just time released. And so I could absolutely get high off of it, and I absolutely did. And so what led me to die was actually a methadone overdose. That specific year, my husband was getting, husband at the time, was getting take homes, and it comes in little liquid form, and he had it, and he had a little security box. But obviously, I knew the code because the whole mission was that he would get my benzos, and I would take his methadone because my benzos increased his high, which didn't help with when he's taking methadone and increased it. It made it better for him. Anyway, long story short, that day I was in a really creative mode, I guess, and I just kept taking little sips. He was asleep in the bedroom, and I was just taking little sips of this liquid. Um, and I felt like, oh, it was hitting me slowly and slowly, and I felt this intense euphoria. I went into my Hemingway phase. I wrote like crazy. I have no idea what I wrote. But I was feeling inspired. I went to bed. I was just, you know, made love to him. I was very like in this euphoric state, and I fell asleep. And my dream, which obviously is not the dream, but really my NDE, is I felt my grandmas who had passed and who I hadn't seen since I immigrated to the US. And they were with me, and I felt their love and their presence, and just something that I had never felt before. Just this, there was no pain, there was no anxiety, that it was just kind of this love. And I wanted to stay there so badly. Um, but I was told that I had to go back. Now, at this point, obviously, I had no idea that I had died. Um, and then, so when I woke up, I actually woke up freezing cold in the hospital. And as the story goes, apparently I had fallen asleep, and my ex-husband woke up to the sounds and noise I was making. And I was actually, he said I was speaking in a different language, and it sounded like my voice sounded different. And that woke him up. And then I foamed in the mouth, and um, um, and yeah, I woke up freezing cold, but I was still functioning. And I remember the doctors were really questioning, like, how did this happen? Who gave you the methadone? Obviously, I lied about all of it. I said I have no idea. Um, but I was terrified coming back to life. It wasn't the death that really freaked me out. It was the fact that I came to back to life. And then I had a really hard time even acknowledging to myself for a very long time that that happened, that I had this even experience. I tried to deny it, but slowly my life started to completely fall apart, but at the same time, in a way that progressed, I'm sorry about that, progressed my healing.
Yeah, so if I can just go back and ask a few follow-up
Sure.
questions. So it sounds like you, as you stated, you had this overdose on methadone
Hmm. Hmm.
and it lasted for about 5 minutes. Now, your boyfriend was able, I guess, to tell you what went on while you were out.
Yeah, I
Uh,
asked him because I didn't want to believe the doctor. So I was like, well, what happened? And he said, well, this is what happened. And I was like, oh, well, why didn't you call 911? That was kind of the immediate question, right? Like, what is how, like, am I dead? Are you just like lugging this body around? How? And I was so scared to even ask those questions. And he was like, well, obviously I couldn't. I have a record. It was my methadone. They would investigate. I'd go to prison, blah, blah. And so it just didn't happen. So, there was this time where I just didn't have a pulse, right? From when he felt, and he saw me foaming at the mouth, and then there was no pulse. And there was a huge time lapse that I don't even know how long it really was. According to them, it was around 5 minutes. Maybe it was long. I have no idea. Um, for his mother to get to the apartment, she had to drive from her house to us, and that would have taken at least 5 minutes to do, and then to load me and bring me to the emergency room. So again, I don't know exactly the time frame. I'm really going by what I was told.
So theoretically, it could have even been longer.
Oh, theoretically, sure. I mean, for me, it started like I was still in the bedroom, right? So it felt like I was still there. I was floating on top, like right there, and I was like with my outside of my body with my grandmother's, and it was just such love that I was like so profound that I hadn't felt since I was a child with them. And it kind of erased that questioning, like, is there something, it eased that pain that I felt when they passed away. Obviously, I couldn't go to their funerals, and I hadn't seen them in years. And it was a, very hard time to feel like I'd never experienced their love again. And it was just almost like it felt like a blessing to feel. And like even reflecting on it now, it said something else, a part of me. So recently, my grandmother, the last of them, passed away, and it was easier for me to let go because I could embrace that there's another part to it. That death isn't the ultimate ending, that she's there. And during that time when I was really embracing that and coming to terms with my own NDE, I was seeing these butterflies. And I saw a few black butterflies, and I saw these beautiful butterflies that summer. And somehow for me, that was just, I believe that like she's just there. This is the signs that I needed, and I felt it. And I wasn't trying to debunk myself at that time. I was just really, this is it. Like I understand. This makes sense to me now. Like I finally came to terms with all of it. But it was a very long journey. I questioned myself through all of it. I didn't want to believe any of it. Didn't want to accept that I died because that was really scary. Not the death, just that experience somehow really felt traumatic to me. Like that, what do you mean I could have been gone? What, like, even though I craved it, it still was a very, just coming back to life was the really traumatizing part, I think.
And you stated that you went out of your body. That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Many near death experiencers, sometimes they go into what's called a transcendental realm where they go
Hmm.
through a tunnel or they go into light. But you're saying you went out of your body. And so
Yeah.
while you were out of your body, could you see the environment around you? Did you
Yeah.
see your own physical body?
Yeah, I could, it was like I was sleeping and my grandmas were there, but we were close. Like I'm with them. There I am sleeping, and that was okay. I'm outside and we're like almost, I'm out of my body, like conversing with them. And there's this other thing where we have to go to through like this tunnel towards like the light we have to travel. And in that moment, they're basically telling me, we love you so much. We're here. We're always here with you. And um whew, sorry. That's hard. I just got like little goosebumps just saying it aloud and really voicing it. Um, and we're always going to be there. And but this is, you're not, you have to go back. Like there's a purpose that you have to go fulfill something. And for a long time, I really had trouble with that, accepting that I even had a purpose, because when I came back to life, it wasn't like instant. I had a purpose and I was awakened. I wasn't. And it slowly began to progress as I began to heal, baby stepping, mental health first, and then really asking myself, what are my spiritual beliefs? What do I believe? How am I able to heal myself? Because again, everything was so independent because of my whole immigration story, right? Where I immigrated to the US legally, then I met my ex-husband, we married, that reset my whole immigration situation. And so I'm still stateless in the US. So it's been hard getting the help I needed. So everything I've done has been just really this spiritual voice, I want to say, that is kind of guiding me and helping me heal better and more and more and more.
Now, it sounds like there was a conversation, obviously, between your deceased grandmother and yourself, or at least most of the information was coming from your deceased
Mhm.
grandmother to you. Was this information audible, like you could hear it in your ears, or was it telepathic and inward?
I want to say it was extremely just felt, so probably more telepathic. But I'm also a person that I hear a monologue in my head naturally. And I don't know if it just intensified after my near-death experience, but I hear this kind of huge voice in my head that really does guide me. And so if you're asking me right now, I can say, I heard it, I felt it, it was both. But at the time, I can't, I want to say it was more telepathic. I think I kind of create more of the voices in my head as I reflect back on it.
Now, after you had this experience, did you end up telling anyone about it or did you keep it to yourself?
Well, I asked my ex-husband about this. Like, I wanted to hear him say, "Yeah, you died," which he confirmed because I didn't want to be like, I didn't really trust the doctors. I was like, maybe they're just over exaggerating. Doctors are like that. Previously, I was in emergency rooms for grand mal seizures, and it was just, I always just wanted to run away from the hospital. So I was just like, just get me out as soon as I could. I don't even think I signed the release to go home. I just signed myself out. I didn't stay the time I was supposed to. I just signed myself out. As soon as like I was able to move and kind of get out of bed and just it was like I'm not staying here any longer. For more tests because they really wanted to test me and I didn't stay for the tests.
So it sounds like you kind of kept the information to yourself until you can
Yeah,
confirm that
yeah.
you were dead.
And then I talked to my sister a little bit and I kind of toyed around with the idea, I died, but I came back to life. But that was kind of it. Um, and then it wasn't really until I started writing my memoir where I went back into that time and I was like, but this is my truth. This is what happened. And I can't shame myself out of it. I kind of have to, I feel like I have to own it and I have to say these are my beliefs. It doesn't mean I'm insane. And after I wrote it, I started even doing more research and trying to find groups where people really talk about it. And I was able to say, yes, I felt this, I completely understand what you're saying. This was my experience too. And it made me feel less crazy.
Many near-death experiencers, when they come back from an experience such as this, usually come back with what we call after effects. For example, some of them may lack the fear of death. They may come back with higher empathy levels. They may have levels of precognition, premonitions. As you said, you can hear
Mhm.
voices in your head right now. Did you come back different
Um,
than you were prior to having the near-death experience?
yes, I think there's been I feel like I've been given sort of gifts that I think I always wanted, but that really helped me kind of see them, embrace them, enhance them. There's certain things that I know and I have no idea why I know them. I used to question that about myself. Now I just kind of just go with it. It's okay. It's just from that experience and I embrace it. I was able to write my memoir that I don't think I would have been able to write if I didn't have this experience. I don't think I would have been able to heal as much as I have from addiction, from the trauma of really regaining again my mind to even sitting down and having this conversation with you. I don't think I would have been able to do any of it if it wasn't for this experience. There was something that gave me that kind of that hidden gift in me that my healing journey and self-reclamation really unraveled as time came forward. And now I'm just really in that embracing phase and I've let go a lot of the shame. And again, I don't think I always loved to write, but I never knew how to tell the story. And somehow, after this experience, after really reclaiming my voice, I was able to sit down and in less than a year write almost 400 pages. And it flowed, it came, it was, I stepped back into those memories. And that's when I began really discovering that and really tapping into it and what that meant for me.
And I understand you write poetry as well. It sounds like this experience was very healing, and that is one of the strongest after effects many near-death experiencers come back with, is a sense of healing, especially if their life was spiraling
Hmm.
downwards. and now it's just ascending upwards because
Oh
of the
yeah.
experience. That's a very powerful after effect in and of itself because it's ultimately self-healing at that point. Now, we started the interview off sort of with the religious question. You
Hmm.
said in the USSR, the Soviet Union, there was no real religion, so you really didn't attach yourself to anything. After having this experience, are you more religious or more spiritual? How has it changed you in that sense?
Um, I want to say I'm more spiritual. But I will say that I actually did a whole deep dive after the experience and really kind of asking myself what aligns. I started going to church. I tried out Catholic church and I said, okay, this is Catholic. I went to Unitarian Universalist church and I was like, okay, this is this experience. I read up on different religions and to an extent, I almost feel like I formed my own spirituality. I don't like being confined. I like to kind of have my own experience with nature where I feel the energy. I think also for church, obviously there's different vibrations and that helps with energy, but I feel like there's this energy that we really just need to tune into. And I don't want to say it's limiting to you have to go to church to experience it. You can experience it, at home or you can experience it with it's just this energy that flows that's always kind of surrounded. And I think that is how we always have those that past really kind of with us. And I always feel them. Different people at different times. And uh, I think that's right now is the best way I can explain it. And I always feel this energy between my fingers. Like I don't have to rub my hands to feel it. It just kind of goes. I remember I went to it was a Unitarian Universalist church, and they were doing this camp shamanic kind of experience. And I was sitting there, and I was like, it's really weird. I can feel this energy just everywhere and just around me. I can make a ball with it, and I just feel it. And she was like, "Well, do you want that ball inside of you?" And I was like, "I have no idea what that means, but sure, let's try it. I think that will be great." Um, and I did, and I felt the energy kind of run through me, and ever since really all that like my NDE, then that experience has really shaped in how I feel and how I view spirituality and how I identify with it.
And many near-death experiencers typically say they come back more spiritual than religious after having a near-death experience in general. So, where can we find your work? For example, some of your poetry, your memoir, etc.
Sure. I'm actually very easy to find. You can find me on Facebook, just Diana Kouprina. My book is actually Borderline, a poetic memoir, and it's everywhere books are sold. So if you like Barnes and Noble, you can get your copy there. If you like Amazon, we're on Amazon, you can get the ebook, paperback, and the hardcover. And what else? Locally, for anyone that's listening that's in Massachusetts or local to Boston, we're in the bookstores of in Harvard Square, so the Harvard Square bookstore and Love Struck. And we're actually I want to say we're in Florida, but I forget the names of those bookstores. So um but yes, so this is the book for my poetry. You can check out my nonprofit. It's https wilddthenonprofit.com. For my podcast, you can type in wildthepodcast.com and let's see what else is there. Um, I think that's it for
Well,
now.
certainly with the advent of the internet, social media, etc., it sounds
Yeah.
like people can easily find you.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can even just Google me. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Diana Kouprina, Kouprina.
Very, very interesting and inspiring account. Well, Diana, I want to thank you for coming on the Real Spiritual Talk podcast and sharing that fascinating near death experience.
Oh, thank you. This was really healing for me. I knew it would be because as much as I've taught spoken about it publicly, I've never really gone as deep as I have gone in discussing it with you. So this was my really first experience and I really was nervous going into it, I will admit. I didn't know if I was going to cry, if my voice was going to shake or what was going to happen, but I wanted to give you really the authentic account and as well as be honest with me without trying, to gaslight myself out of it.
Well, you did very well, and I think you will be received very well as well.
I hope. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Diana Kouprina.
Thank you.